Here we go. Episode 133 of the Trash Talk Business Podcast coming to you live. First thing in the morning, top of the morning to you listeners. Yep, we're changing things up a little bit this week. We're going live early today and next Tuesday because sometimes doing things a little differenter gets you a little differenter results. This is our opportunity every week to come together to start, grow, build our junk removal dreams. As always, I'm Andy Weins, and this week we have a very special guest, Eriq with a Q, longtime listener.
Hey,
Eriq with a Q, Shipp, welcome to the show.
thank you for having me, Andy. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate everything you're doing for the community, for the industry as a whole. I really do. I listen to you. I listen to you more often lately. Just because I've been really pushing to get on the show. So I'm
Yeah.
happy somehow God aligned us, and thank God for that happening. But more so like when I was starting, it was hard to find a podcast dedicated to just this, dedicated
Mm-hmm.
to anything that had to do with this, because we're kind of, like you say, we're kind of like a weird niche in the
Yeah, I
in
mean,
the
it's a,
business world.
the junk removal is a $10 billion industry. When you think about it, that's a big number. Not compared to a lot of
Anything.
industries out there. Yeah, the waste industry is closer to 100 billion. You know,
Yeah.
and so yeah, it's a newer industry. It's about 40 years old if you look at it when the SBA started recognizing the industry. So it's a relatively young industry, flexible, right? And that's why we got some franchise players. There's not a lot of historic players or even precedents, right? Our industry doesn't have a lot of standards.
Like a
Hell,
union or
yeah,
anything.
or yeah, exactly. Like we don't even know what a truck size is in our industry, right? A truck
Yeah.
or a trailer, right? I still use the word trailer because we started with trailers and that's how we differentiated. Fine. So
And
you know
that's
what?
kind of it's the wild wild west right now, but you're
Yeah.
bringing some kind of semblance, you're bringing some kind of responsibility to us, and I appreciate you for that. I'm sorry for cutting you off, but I do
Oh no,
appreciate you, man, for sure. No,
no,
for
no, no.
sure,
This
man. It's
no.
like I'm kind of nervous because I feel like I'm talking to like a pioneer kind. I see you as like a pioneer in our industry, you know. So you're doing the
Yeah.
right thing, man, and I commend you for that. Thank you for your service. I always, I take pride in listening to you because you I don't know, just your story is cool, man. So I thank you, man. Big ups, and thank you for having me for sure.
No, I appreciate that. Hey man, what do you want to get out of today? You tell me. You've been a listener. You
Um,
drop in the comments every now and then. What do you want to get out of it? This
I,
is
I
your
kind
hour.
of want to treat it like you were to come to Denver and I pay for your dinner. You know, I
Let's
kind
do
of
it.
just want to just yeah, just I
Let's
know
kick
you're
it.
in a better spot than I am. I know I don't know exactly where you were at. I'm 2 years in. I started
Okay.
June of 2022.
Okay.
So I guess I want to get my story out and I want to ask you questions. And I
Done.
just kind of want to create a resource right now. I want to build some rapport. Hopefully, create a friend. For real, cause I
Yeah.
see you as a friend already, even though you don't know me. You know.
I'm coming to Denver in when am I coming to Denver? I'm coming to Denver in January. So let's get
Yeah,
going.
I got a room, man. We got some dinner. You can come
Oh
stay at
yeah.
my house if you want to, man. All that.
No, done. There we
Swear,
go.
I'm not
See how,
playing,
see how,
man.
actually, I got to hook up fucking, is it Govro? Govro's in Tampa. I gotta find a. I'm gonna book a weekend in February to go down there just to get some sun. Like that's it. I'm
Yeah.
going to Orlando in January for a gig, but it's like an in and out. Like I fly in on a Wednesday, I fly out Thursday afternoon. I need me some fucking sun in the summer or sun in the
But it's
winter.
so dope to see you being able to do that and still run a successful
Oh
company.
yeah,
And that's really where I'm at right now. I'm at the point where I'm just doing everything, and I don't have
yeah,
my systems in place. And I know you guys talk about systems a lot, like on the show, but it's like it's better. It's like easier said than done. You know, it's really a struggle just trying to knock the jobs out, trying to do this, trying to like I'm definitely not one that has it all figured out. I'm kind of just winging it by, and God's kind of seeing me through with it for sure.
okay. Let's talk about your origin story. How'd you June 22. Let's go back there. How did you get involved in junk removal in the first place?
Okay, I want to start a little bit before because I don't ever
Please.
want to shed. I don't ever want to shed away from it, kind of. But
Yeah.
my mom, growing up, my mom was a hoarder. Um, I'm not calling her a hoarder. She had a hoarder's problem, but
Yeah.
she still is a hoarder right now. Even though I have this big junk truck, I still can't clear her house out.
Hmm.
Like she just won't have it. She just won't have it. But we're working on that. And I understand the problem, and I think I understand the problem from a little bit more intimate view. So that's kind of why it's more than, I mean, I know we're only a 10 billion or whatever dollar industry, but it's more than, I don't know, that's more than enough for me. You know,
Yeah.
if I could get a piece of that pie, then that's more than enough for where I started or where I'm coming from. But growing up, I couldn't really bring friends around, couldn't really bring girls around, you know, so I understand the problems of junk. It's just sitting there, and I almost hate it. You know, I almost have a hate for junk, kind of. But so growing, I never thought of myself as a junk removal. I always looked at the guys in the trucks like, oh, you know, like, oh, he's scrapping, he's making money like that, scrapping, he's really making a living scrapping or whatever. You know, I always kind of looked at side eye to it. And I never would have even seen myself in this position. Growing up, I got straight A's in high school, I was like DECA president. I was Mr. Everything kind of growing up. You know, I went to a good college out of state, Washington D.C., Howard University.
Oh shit,
But
that's a big boy school.
it's a big boy school, bro. But I didn't have the big boy money to pay for it, and I didn't know what I was doing because at 18, you don't know what you're doing. You know.
No, they'll give you
So
$150,000 in loans, but yeah,
yeah, take it, no
yeah, but they
problem.
won't give you
But me
$10,000
getting a business loan right now, is crazy. It's hard. Yeah, it's very hard. Yeah, but so I went to Howard University, did a year there, came back. My mom and my little sister were homeless at the time. Um, I kind of feel a little responsible for that because I was always with them, and I don't think it would be, you know what I'm saying? It would, I don't know. I don't really
Yeah.
know. I was still a kid, so I don't really know how that goes. I got involved in the wrong crowds, kind of, and ended up selling drugs, got caught. So I got a felony at, I think I turned 21 in jail. I'm 33 right now.
Okay.
So I got a felony. I'm just telling you straight up, this is my life. You know, this is what
Yeah.
it is. Yeah. But the reason I'm saying this is because I feel like junk removal is something that, it's not like a caveman could do it, but almost so. You know, like
Oh yeah.
it's a good business.
There's a low barrier to entry. Well, I'll teach you that. Low barrier to entry.
Yeah.
That's the business term for, right? Everyone can do it. It's like, no, like you talk about like, hey, what's the difference between a guy that cleans gutters and a guy that cleans out houses? It's like, well, the gutter guy has a ladder, right? Like that's one more thing, right? So anyways, low barrier to entry. And that's the reason why guys can pop up. That's what I love about the industry is, you know, there's a lot of industries out there that they have something proprietary. They got a license, they got, right? And so like there's all these steps that make it more difficult to get competition.
Yeah.
In our business, every fucking swinging dick can come out here and compete with us, which means
the client doesn't care. Yeah, the client doesn't care either.
It's partially don't care. The other thing is they don't know. Like a lot of people don't know what the price of junk removal is. They don't know what. I mean, I get customers all the time that be like, "Oh, hey, I paid like $800 for." I remember someone recently. They're like, "Oh yeah, I paid like $800 to get rid of a hot tub." And I was like, "I do them for $350." And they're like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah." So it's like,
or you see the guy when we're at the landfill. You see the guy who just loaded up his truck and is about to pay the same thing we're about to pay for his pickup truck, for my big old truck, or you know, it's crazy. But it's just people just don't know. But I think
people don't know. Like if you said a cheeseburger, right? Most people be like, all right, it's probably like $4 or $5 on the low end to $20 in nice restaurants. Like, oh, that's how much a cheeseburger costs because people have bought these things throughout their lives, right? So like when McDonald's prices goes up, people are sensitive to that price going up. If it goes $1 up, you're like, oh, I used to spend $9 on a fucking value meal. Now it's over 10. Now it's double digits. And you're like, oh shit, right? But in junk removal, most people don't know because there isn't. If you set a truck size 12, 14, 16, 18 cubic yards, what are we talking about here? Because a 12 cubic yard truck size and 18 cubic yard truck size is pretty significantly different from a value perspective. So, it is wild, wild west. So anyways, let's get back to your story. Drugs, jail.
Yep. All the bad stuff, kind of. But I got out on a mission, really, I would say. So I got out. During that time, I also found God. I found Jesus Christ, so I do believe in Jesus Christ too. I just want to put that out there. I feel like he's guiding me along this way. I feel like it's kind of, what I'm saying, his way, and I'm just on his time, kind of. So that had a kind of bright ending, at least. But so I was in the halfway house when I got out. I was doing bricklaying for $12 an hour. I did like the Granite downtown Denver. I say this every podcast, but it was true. But like they would send me on unmanned, like not enough people, and they would like be like, "You have Eriq, bro. Like, you got Eriq, man. Who cares? Like,
Yeah,
no, really. Like, I was really making this company so much money, you know." And I went to go ask for a raise, and he's like, he it's weird little, it's weird. He's like, I'm like, if I got my tools, you said I get a raise. Then if I now I got to get out the halfway house before I get a raise. Now I got to do this. So I ended up getting to a trades. I typed in skilled trades on the internet on Craigslist. Got a Craigslist job doing HVAC, and then a year later I ended up transferring to the union. I did 7 years in the union. And I got my journeyman's license. I can do commercial HVAC to the T. I really liked it. It was I found myself passionate about that because I didn't know about business ownership. You know, like like I didn't know like I knew that it was possible, but I don't know. It's a lot to jump into. You know, it's scary, and everybody says all the businesses fail, and it's hard. You know.
80,
Uh,
yeah. I mean, depending on what study you read, 50% of businesses fail in 5 years. 80% of those that make it don't make it 10. I mean, and
yeah.
I've had 4 or 5 businesses that didn't make it 5 years. So even me, statistically speaking, I got one business that makes it after 5 years. I got at least 4 businesses that didn't make it 5 years. So it's like,
How long has Camo Crew? How long have you been doing that?
So Camo Crew as an entity has been 4.5 years. So my journey was 2016. I got my LLC. I joined a franchise. I did that for almost 4 years. I mean, actually 4 years in like 2 weeks, if you know, whatever. So I got my LLC in February of 16, and we closed that business in February of 22. So all in, let's call it 4 years. Then I sat through a 2-year
And
non-compete.
that turned you off from franchises, right?
Oh, I fucking hate franchises because of that.
Yeah,
Certain
I know
industries
you.
they work like, and I'll say this: Junk Luggers. I think Junk Luggers is a phenomenal franchise. I think they're the best franchise from what I can see as far as environmental responsibility and sustainability. I also have a direct line to Justin Waltz, and he's the brand president over there. I don't hate on what I don't know, so I don't hate on Junk Luggers. They're not in my market. I don't know too much about them. I have
Yeah,
I have particular perspectives about College Hunks 800 and then J Dog in particular because I was part of J Dog. My biggest issue
gotcha.
with all franchises across the board is the environmental responsibility piece. All of them put on their website, we recover 40 to 60%. None of them, any franchise I've talked to, franchisee, employee, guys that come work for me that work for the competitor, they all say the same thing. Oh, yeah, we'll throw off some metal every now and then at the shop or take stuff that we want to take home or like really nice stuff, but
Yeah,
99% of it goes right to the transfer station. Like 800 got junk. They load their trucks, they hit the transfer, they hit the
and I've dumped
landfill.
next to 1-800 got
And
junk, and so
and the
I
thing
see
is,
the stuff that they dump.
right?
You
Like
know.
I'm not exactly like if that's their thing, fine. Don't fucking lie about it, right? So our
Exactly.
warehouse, you could talk to the 6 cats that came here a couple of weeks ago for our mastermind. They came, they see our process. I got my numbers, I got my weights. This year I'm going to recycle over 1,000,000 pounds. I already know it because I've done over
That's
700,000
crazy,
pounds of
bro.
steel. I've done almost 200,000 pounds of electronics. I got a truck right now. I can see right down there, 53-foot semi getting loaded. It'll get loaded with probably 10 to 15,000 pounds of electronics out the door. Right. So I got my numbers, I got my warehouse, I got my data. Like, so if
Yeah,
someone wants to come at me, right? We had an independent study done years ago. 80% of the material that comes in our warehouse gets recovered. So my issue with all the franchises is you're lying about recycling. What else are you lying about? Right. And then I hear the complaints about hidden fees. I hear the complaints about they'll charge you extra, not just hidden fees, but then also the bait and switch. They'll be like, oh, it's probably like a half
yeah,
trailer. They get there, it's a full trailer, and they're already there, and like, well, we're not leaving, right? So then there's pressured sales. That's why I don't like franchises. Also, I'm a fourth generation entrepreneur. My grandfather had a farm. The other one had a dental practice. My great grandfathers were farmers. My father is owned a remodeling company. This is the reason why I will not franchise Camo Crew. Like, I love other people's brands. So you got QHAUL, right? Because you're Eriq with a Q.
yeah.
That's who you are. That's dope, right? Move My Mess. He
Thank
was
you.
here a couple weeks ago, right? Move My Mess was here. My guy Up Away Taylor down in Atlanta, K&S Junk Removal up there in
Yeah.
Minnesota. Like all these brands, yes, like I'm Camo Crew. Ain't nobody else's Camo Crew. I know who I am. I can apply operational processes, financial processes to my brand, and I can apply them to other people's brands, and we can grow an industry. We can apply best practices. At the end of the day, I ain't Q Junk Removal. I ain't gonna try to be, QHAUL, and you're not gonna try to be Camo Crew. So that's the other thing. Franchises take away the individuality of the entrepreneur, and that's what I'm most excited about. Like, I want to be
Yeah,
a fucking, I want to be a fucking
the
legend.
actual, and you have to be an entrepreneur to even own a franchise. So it sucks
Correct.
you dry too.
And I get it.
You're sitting there pushing
Yeah.
this brand that you don't care about, that you have no heart for, nothing. Yeah.
Or
I'm
my
against
case,
franchises too, huh?
my case, I cared about the brand, and I was representing the brand. Hell, you go back, look at some shit from J-Dog back in the day. My face is everywhere. The problem was
Yeah.
I had no control over it. They were telling me what to say. I'm like, that ain't what I stand for, right? So my whole thing, I saw a speaker last week, great smart man, Gayer Maxwell. He does a book called Big Little Legends. Great fucking book. You want to talk about marketing book? Taylor, put that up in the chat. Big Little Legends, great fucking marketing book. The whole point of that book is talking about how to be legendary within your industry. In order to be legendary, you got to be one of one. You got to be individual. All right, Taylor's yelling at me. I got to hop out. Hold on a second. Let me just sit tight for a second. I got to hop out, hop back in. My video's pixelated.
Okay, no problem.
Hold on.
You guys can look at me. Is anybody watching? Is there a chat going on? Okay, no.
All right, we back? We're back. We're better? All right, someone hopped off. All right, here we go. We're back-ish. Are we less
Gotcha.
pixelated? All right, here we go. All right, so Little Big Legends. Man, my brain ain't working. Or is it Big Little? Now I got to think about it. Now I done screwed this up.
That's the name of that book?
Yeah, that is, Big Little Legends. I can't remember which way I said it the first time. Big Little Legends. That's what I thought. The tagline is how everyday leaders, let me just tag it. So I got a copy of this book. Where the hell did I have it? Hold on a second. Maybe I have it on.
Okay.
Can't remember. How everyday leaders build irresistible brands. Nope, I don't have it with me. I got Traction with me. Another great book. So there you go. So that's why I don't fuck with franchises, because I'm a firm believer in individuality. I'm a firm believer in owning your local market. And in order to own your local market and be local, it's got to be your brand. It's got to be you represented. So anyways, that's what we're talking about with franchises. We still haven't finished your, there we go.
Gotcha.
There we go. Let's get back to your origin story. So Union HVAC, saw yourself in there, and then what happened?
Yeah, I worked. Luckily, I was able to buy a house with my in HVAC after HVAC or whatever. So I bought my house, and then I got a little bit more comfortable. I started renting it out. That was my first kind of entrepreneurial, where I was making money off something I bought. So I started seeing the value in being an owner. Started seeing that value in, just kind of I don't know, kind of turning a loan into actual physical money.
Yep.
So I was at work when I bought I always had a little F-150 sitting out there. Like I said, I have roommates, and my roommate, he used to pull a little trailer around in like a sedan, like a Ford Fusion. Like, so he was just pulling it was a little Harbor Freight trailer, 6x4, like really small, nothing. But he was pulling it around, and he like remodeled home, so he didn't really need a lot.
Yeah.
So I seen him doing that, and I had an F-150 just sitting in the parking lot that I really never used. I really wasn't even thinking about, and I was like, let me just try it. And it started off as a joke, it's like, don't let U-Haul, don't get a U-Haul, call QHAUL, like it started off kind of funny, but after that first job, that first job was.
That's a good ass fucking line, Jack. I fucking like that line.
Hey, you might see it somewhere one day. Hopefully, man. I'm really. I want to be a big little legend for sure.
I mean, you could get sued like a motherfucker by U-Haul, but that's all right. That's all what do you call it? All press is good press. Actually, hold on. Jedi Junk Removal He never got sued, which throws me off. I have no idea how Andrew's been getting away with Jedi junk removal. He told me on a podcast, he's like, nah, they can't sue me because it's a legal entity. I'm like, they gotta
Maybe it's
trademark
the
that
age.
shit.
Yeah, maybe it's the age though. Maybe Star Wars is so old that they could just do whatever they
No,
want.
there's maybe we'll have Andrew back on one of these.
Yeah, I don't
Actually,
know
we'll have
because
him
he
back on
uses
talking
their
about his
lines and
software.
everything. Like, may the
I heard-
force be your junk.
Oh my god,
you
yeah.
know?
He's got his new. I heard some dope shit about his new software. I've seen some comments on people online. I'm a jobber guy. Everybody knows that. Actually, I got here. I'm gonna junkify. That's my guy Xavier. Here we go. Shout out Xavier. Oh, hold on. We can't even.
It's blurry.
There we go. There we go. Junkify.
Oh,
Shout
that's
out
nice.
him. Secrets of Junk. Actually, I bought his book. Hey, they haven't shipped it. I bought 10 copies. I bought 5 copies of his first 2 books, Secrets of Junk Removal and Secrets of How to Get Commercial Jobs. Man, I'm giving everybody shout outs today. So Xavier, that's a good dude. Andrew's a good fucking dude. Who
I
else?
told you, man, you're a pioneer, man.
I shot out my guy, fucking
Yeah.
Justin Waltz over there at what do you call it? Junk Luggers. It's not even. I wouldn't say pioneer. Homeboy, 800 got junk. He's the fucking like Mount
Yeah,
Rushmore
yeah.
guy. I never
But as
remember that
far
guy's
as
name.
this though, I think I don't know. There's not a lot of reliable. There's not a dedicated, consistent, and you stay with it consistent for 150, 130 episodes.
133 episodes. 130. We fucking we
Yeah,
going.
so it you are doing something, and I admire it, and I appreciate it, and I've learned from it. A lot of your sayings I go around saying, a lot of your mind states I try to have. I try to do my hillbilly math every once in a while. And I swear I'm a fan. I'm a real fan, bro, and I appreciate you, man. I want to.
Speaking of hillbilly math, I'm gonna do a. Actually, I gotta pull up the date here. Hillbilly. Speaking of hillbilly math, I am putting up another mastermind weekend. I put it on my calendar. So this is what I'm doing. So this is for anybody out there. This is the time of year for financial planning right now. This is what I decided earlier this year. I stopped taking consulting clients. So this year I did not take any consulting clients in the junk removal space. I still do consulting for other other industries. So organizers, speakers, other people I take on their work. Anyways, I had a junk removal company reach out to me like 6 weeks ago. And like, hey, I know you're not consulting. This is what we need. So I dug into it. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to take you on. This is why. So I took them on because it's purely financial and operations. And then the next thing, the next proof of concept, kind of like you were talking about your QHAUL. You just did it not as a joke, but you did it as a testing the market, right? It was MVP, we call it, minimally viable product, right? So then I had that mastermind weekend. It was going to be a recycling weekend, turned into a mastermind weekend. Cool, dope. So this is what I'm doing. January 24th, 25th, I'm coming out. People are coming out to Milwaukee here. So it's the end of the month, end of January. So by that point, people will have their financials from the year done. I'm going to build pro formas for people. That's the goal. So that weekend, and for people signing up for it, the weeks and months or the weeks leading up to it, I'm going to get your financial statements. I'm going to make sure your data is nice and clean. And for the people that come, we're going to spend an entire day building out your pro forma and your plan. So we're going to get the pro forma, which is, some people call it budget, all this other shit. No, it's a pro forma. This is your performance you're going to be. We're going to talk about profit first. We're going to talk about how you can pay yourself. And then we're going to look at some other numbers within your business. What are the KPIs that will drive your pro forma that'll show you how much money you're going to make? You're going to make the decision February 1st, how much money you're going to make by the end of the year. Gotcha. So that's what we're doing. Mastermind weekend here in Wisconsin. Same cadence as last time. Friday afternoon, get in between 12 and 5 sometime. Kind of familiarization with the warehouse. I'll show you operations, very laid back. We do dinner Friday night. Saturday all day, we're going to pull up. We're going to pull performance. One of the questions I always get, and this is what comes back to hillbilly math. One of the questions I always get with people is they're like, and this is the industry thing. It's like, well, how much should I spend on disposal? How much should I spend on advertising, right? And should is a shit word, right? I know because people give me their data. I've been looking at data for 8 years in this industry. I know the acceptable ranges and what most people are spending. And the more people that give me their data, the more data I have to see what is acceptable.
Yeah, the more accurate.
Right? Correct. So there's simple things like disposal is typically 6 to 8% of your top line, right? I go off of service revenue, not top line. So I take out recycling and all that other stuff. Well, it's only service revenue, 6 to 8% of your service revenue. But one of the things we figure out in the mastermind is what investment is appropriate for you to make in education every year.
Yeah.
And we decided 1 to 2.5% of your top line revenue. So simple math, right? If you're going to do $100,000 a year in business, right? That means you have between $1,000 and $2,500 a year to invest in yourself. So $2,500, that's a conference you can go to. $1,000, that's like getting a coach, right? For
Yeah.
6 months, maybe. That's that acceptable range. So if you have a $500,000 business, right? That means somewhere between $5,000 and $1,250 is what you can spend, and I would argue is a good investment. So you can grow your ceiling. So anyways, numbers like that you hadn't considered. And when you make those investments, you're going to get a 10x return, at least a 10x return. The client that I recently started working with, it's purely financials, purely operational. We have found that we've already paid for me and then some, and we're only a couple weeks into it. So that's what we're doing. Mastermind weekends. And the second thing I'm doing next year, for select clients that want even more in depth, I started being a fractional CFO. So I'm going to be a fractional CFO for people in the junk removal space only, because that world I know in depth. And to your point of hillbilly math, taking things that are relatively complicated and simplifying them so the average business owner knows what's going on with their numbers, what's going on with their data, and what best decisions to make based on the data. So those are my two things I'm rolling out next year. First time I'm talking about January 24th, 25th, Mastermind Weekend, build your pro forma. You want a fractional CFO in the junk removal space? I'm your guy. And actually, that's the
Can
week,
you explain
that's the week
that
I'm in
term?
Denver.
What's fractional CFO?
Yeah, fractional CFO. So CFO, Chief Operating Officer. Chief Financial Officer. My day back in the day used to be a COO. All right, Chief Financial Officer. Fractional means I'm the guy. I'm not a full-time employee, right? So it's not like we have an accounting firm. Often it's like, well, there's a subcontractor. They do accounting. I tell them what to do. They do it, right? That's the difference. Now, fractional means I, as a CFO, I'm going to tell you what your finances
What to get done.
Because what happens is when you hire an accountant, they're only going to be as smart basically as you push them. That's it. CFO, they're coming over here and they're going to bring your financial literacy and knowledge up. This is what happens every time I take on a client, whether it's in a junk removal space or not. I get into their accounts, I get into their P&Ls, the profit and loss statements, I get into their balance sheets, and I'm like, all right, what's going on with your business? And they're like, I don't know. This is what my accountant gives me. I'm like, how fresh is this data? They're like someone would be like, it's September, and they're like, oh, this is from June. It's like, well, where's July and August? Well, we don't have it yet. Well, this data that's 60 to 90 days old, it's expired. Data is good for about 2 weeks, right? If I'm looking at data from early September, it's got to be through August. Like right now, it is November 19th. What I did in October is already insignificant. Like I got to look at the first 2 weeks of November. So as a fractional CFO, I can come in, I can train your bookkeeper, your accountant, and even in tax prep to say, this is what we want the operating, especially the P&L. This is what operationally we want it to look like. So we have our service revenue. We have our other revenue or sales. We have our cost of goods sold. We have our fixed expenses. And then we have our other income and other expenses. Then we use that data. We can see simple things. What are my dollars per hour? What's my disposal rate? What's my recycling rate? All this data that will tell you the financial health of your business and give us predictions for the future. That's, again, it's hillbilly math because we look at a big P&L, it can be overwhelming. It could be all consuming. Hillbilly math says, do these 3 to 5 things really well. Like this is what we look at. These are the top KPIs in our industry. What is your revenue to goal? Service revenue to goal. That's number one. Or actually, before that, profit margin. What's your profit margin? That's one. Second thing, what's your service revenue goal? Third, what are your dollars per hour? Fourth, what is your disposal rate? Fifth, what is your recycling rate? We figure those 5 things out from a financial standpoint, we're good to hook. Next section is, where the hell are my leads coming from? What am I spending my money on advertising for? Which leads are actually producing dollars? That's what we do. That's what we'll do that weekend, because when you have that information, you'll be able to tell real quick, all right, which crew is actually, handling their business.
All right, stop doing that. Let's do this. Stop doing that.
Which customers do we need to fire? You might have some customers that are like great on the revenue side and terrible on the profit side. It's like, well, hold on, right? Revenue is for fucking show, profits for grow, or revenues for vanity, profits for sanity. Either way, Profit First. Mike was on our show. I can never pronounce his last name right, so I'm not even going to slaughter it. Mike, Profit First, great book. So for the people that want to come this weekend, I'm gonna lay it out. There's gonna be a couple books that when you read them, hell, I don't care if you just listen to the audiobook or you get the fucking cliff notes. Get smart on them. So when I bring these things up, we can have that conversation that weekend. There we go. That's what we're talking about. So your point of hillbilly math, I love the fact you brought that up because of all the things I hear about on this podcast, hillbilly math is the one thing that's consistent. People are like, oh, I love your hillbilly math. You took something that's complicated, overbearing, and this all goes.
But that's all the accountant is doing too at times with projections and stuff like that. Because I'm new to all this, so that's what you're talking about is my struggle.
Right, exactly. Most business owners, when the 6 buckets of business, marketing, sales, operations, the thing you do, resources that are human, and then finally the numbers, I've surveyed and surveyed and surveyed. Almost always, people put numbers in their bottom 3. Very few organizations have numbers as high, and the ones that do are typically going to be accounting firms,
numbers,
like IT. Yeah. They're like data-driven people, right? And I call them numbers. It's not financials. It's not money. It's all the numbers
Excel
that govern your
sheets
business. It's all that shit. So, and also it's in line with the other reason I'm really leaning hard next year into being a fractional CFO is I'm writing my next book. I've already started writing it. And so I want to test my theories and get some case studies on it. I've used the customers for the last 2 years as case studies. I want a few more case studies to really test my theories now. So the next book I'm writing is called Numbers Fucking Matter. Lean into the data that scares you the most. So I'm writing that with another gentleman who is a fractional CFO. So I'm getting smarter on that.
When you got the words matter. The words matter and the numbers.
Yeah, and the numbers fucking matter, right? I mean, there's a theme here, baby.
I see.
The thing is, with words fucking matter, we're gonna land the ship here eventually. Well, actually, I'm gonna land the ship right now. When you were talking about processes and right, here's the difference. When I wrote words fucking matter, I developed the thought leadership as I went. I'm like, oh, let's kind of talk about this, and then I would talk about it, and I'd like circle, and I'd land on a spot, right? That's what you first do in business. You're like, I think this is gonna work. I think if I put this little trailer on my F-150, I think I can figure it out. Okay. That's where you start. Words is where you start in business. Now, the way that I'm writing Numbers Fucking Matter is completely different. I already did the work. I already done the research. I got 8 years as an entrepreneur. I got dozens of people that I've coached and consulted with. I got P&Ls, and I got, P&Ls from the industry. So now I've already done it. Now I'm merely documenting it. Same with you, where you're at in your business. Figure out what you did best and start documenting it. Because when you first started, you were figuring it out. Yeah. Now you know what works, you know what doesn't work. Document. That was like Casey's favorite thing he said on the podcast. Document everything and also document the stuff that doesn't work. So next time it pops in your head, or when people ask me like, hey Andy, why don't you do radio advertising? I'm like, this is why. Or LinkedIn advertising. I love LinkedIn. I fuck with LinkedIn. We spent money on LinkedIn this year. 0 customers. 1 lead, 0 customers in 90 days. So now we hired a new marketing company recently. They're like, okay, what doesn't work? I pulled up my data. My data says LinkedIn does not work. Radio does not work. Cool. Let's move on. Anyways, all right.
Radio is on my list.
We may or may not ever get to your origin story the way that this podcast is going.
Hey man, it's all good, man. I appreciate it. I'm getting something from it for sure.
Here's the deal. I've avoided doing podcasts in the morning. As everyone knows, I moved from Mondays to Tuesdays because Mondays I was feeling burnt out because I had all my meetings stacked. I was feeling burnt out. So I'm like, let me move the podcast to Tuesday. This week, I appreciate you having flexibility. This week it's merely I'm going after this.
Getting it done early.
I'm going down to Chicago for a dinner, a waste industry dinner with a dude, good fucking dude. Anyway, so I'm going down there. So, and actually next week I'm also adjusting my calendar because I'm driving to Chicago to pick my daughter up. So I don't know, maybe we move to fucking podcast in the morning next year. Like I've always done in the afternoon, thinking people are going to catch it on their way home. We'll see. Yeah. Actually, listeners.
I think if it's up at the same time, because I kind of wait for it. I have to wait for it because it's a weird time of the day. It's like 2:30 over here or something. So, but
all right.
Here, let me make it simple though. Let me kind of get into it.
Yeah.
So I started chugging with that first truck. I don't even know how long it took. I think it took me like a couple months to buy my big truck. So I ended up buying a big 21-foot dump truck. I bought it in North Carolina. I drove it across the country. It only had 40,000 miles on it. I built the walls up only 4 or 6 feet. and it dumped. It was doing everything I needed it to do. Really, it was sitting on the side of the road, and somebody fucking came and hit it just right in the morning while I'm going to work. I'm looking at him hit my truck. So we went to go. We ended up getting all that fixed. I'm renting U-Hauls. I'm doing whatever I can to kind of keep my business going, and it's already kind of happened to me once. I kind of just was like, I'm a believer in this shit. I think this is what I want to do. So I took out another loan and ended up getting it's a blessing really. It's a 2005 or 2007 GMC C7500.
Okay.
Um
It's a big boy
it's
truck.
got a yes, it's a really good truck. It's got a C7 Caterpillar engine, so it's only got 40,000 miles on it. So I did my research this time. I didn't play around. My first truck was an Isuzu, and I don't recommend people getting those, even though people,
I don't like
even
them.
though
The
it's the
NPRs.
standard kind
I
of.
don't. We have three. I don't love them. I know that's the industry
They're
standard.
hard to work on. They're hard to get stuff for. It's just very they're not the ones that I
Yeah.
think that we should be getting, but it's really, I think that the trucking part of the industry is the hardest part we have to conquer, like
Yeah,
as junk removal
look at the
owners.
other industries. Like when you talk about waste hauling trucks, right, or flatbeds, or even van trailers or chilled trailers. Like there's like four categories. They're either 40 foot or 53 foot. That's kind of it, right? And
Thank you,
so
sir.
like you know, like all right, I got 50. Like today we got a walking floor trailer. I already know it's 40 foot trailer, so I know how many pallets I can put on there or how much material I can put on there on a 40 foot walking trailer versus, oh, we're going to show up with a truck. And it's like, well, how big is it? Like, just the size we have, right?
Yeah.
Because if it comes in at 32 feet or 45 feet, not 40, it's like screws things up. So, yes, standardization on truck sizes. And again, a lot of people like the MPRs. So our employees generally like the MPRs. They like driving them. I remember when I was in Iraq and when I was training for the Army, we had FMTVs and LMTVs, which are, again, cab overs where the wheels are behind you. I never have liked them. Like, I drove a semi in Iraq, right? Like, that's,
Yeah.
a M915, a Freightliner semi hauling fuel. Like, I felt safer in that than driving the, like, the
Like
equivalent to like
we.
an MPR. So that's my preaching for the day.
I'm not
And yeah,
about
I don't. Even a couple weeks ago, I drove one of our dump trucks to a e-waste event to go pick up scrap, and I'm like, I didn't like it for shit. Like I like sitting back. I like having a big fucking engine in front of me because I hit something.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the MPRs. Our guys like them. The industry likes them. That's an uphill battle for sure.
No, I don't like them. Well, for what I'm doing, I think it's the best. I think it's the best way. So anyway, let me kind of go back a little bit. When they
Yeah.
hit me, it was a fatal crash. It was a drunk driver on the
Oh shit.
highway. She ended up killing her passenger.
Jesus.
That's when I kind of knew it was done with that truck. But that was the second time somebody hit me in that truck. It was like a bad luck truck, and I have to pay right now. I got a $12,000 bill. I had the frame straightened out so I can try
Yeah.
to sell it, but I don't even know how good it's gonna sell. It's kind of, I don't really know what I'm doing with that one. It's scary. But so I got my baby though. I got my other truck. I tried to buy like a little Band-Aid truck, which is what I use for my metal right now, and I
Yep.
completely recycle all my metal. I'm not there with everything with the electronics. I still recycle right now. Like if we get a big cardboard job, then I'll take it. I know I have a dumpster I could take it to, but I haven't even really started exploring that because I'm still coming out my house. I'm still
Yeah.
kind of out my house. So I'm kind of one of the guys you were talking about because it sounds good to say, eco-friendly, and we do our
Yeah.
best as far as like what we can do. So I don't feel like we're lying to the customer, but it's like it's kind of what you like. If you type in make a junk removal website for me, they're gonna say probably eco-friendly. There's somewhere in
Well,
there, or
I mean, my first business I had, the Clutter Busters, back in 2009. It was my tagline was eco-friendly junk removal for your home or business. What the fuck does that mean, right? I mean, hell, even our country, they can't.
and
The
who
FDA,
cares?
the FDA
Like
doesn't even have a
kind of.
standard for what is cage-free or organic, right? Like cage-free is like you put a bunch of chickens in a fucking, a shed. They never see the light of day. It's like, yeah, they ain't in fucking cages, right? You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, no, it's
I
true.
shoot,
Words can
I
say
mean,
anything, or yeah.
I shoot my own fucking deer in my backyard, right? Like that's that's what I eat. You know what I'm saying? And I buy pork from a local farmer. Like, man, I go to the fucking Costco. I ain't checking the fucking sticker of lies. So that's one of the challenges of eco-friendly or words like that. The key is, right? You can articulate what you do. Hey, we're going to keep these electronics out. So, for example, this is a go-to line. You can use it. Everybody can use it, right? Electronics represent, this is a study in Wisconsin. Electronics represent 70% of the toxins in the landfill, and yet they are less than 2% of the total volume. And so that's why there's subsidies set aside for electronics, because electronics recycling straight up is not cash flow positive because there's so much other stuff going on, right? Especially TVs and stuff. So that's why the states that have subsidies for electronics make it or allow you to actually recycle them. Now, and then metal, same thing, right? Like, there's another stat that can throw you out. In Germany, they recycle over 99% of aluminum cans. In the United States, we recycle around 50% of aluminum cans. So this is what you tell people. Hey, at my stage in the company, I'm donating and recycling what I can, and say I sort all the metal, ferrous and non-ferrous. I keep electronics out of the landfill because that's the truth. Tell people
that's what
how
I say.
it is. That's it.
I say I don't have the time or resources yet, but
don't say that shit. Don't say that shit. Tell them what you're doing, not what you're not doing. No one gives a shit what you don't do. Don't give them any doubt. Tell them what you're doing. That's it. Tell them what you're doing. Don't even worry about other shit. That other shit's insignificant.
That's some game right there, man. That's what I'm talking about, Andy, man. You be looking out for me, man. You be looking out for me over here.
Because you don't want to put that, because other motherfuckers are lying. College hunks 800 got junk. We recycle 40 to 60%. No, you don't.
Yeah.
Hell, I had a guy from College Hunks on this podcast. I said, cool. How do you track that? He goes, we don't. There you go. I got a study. I got my weights. Come at me, bro. Right? Like,
no, I have a bigger vision where we have like dumpsters in the future. That's my next step. I think I want to get dumpsters. I want to get a yard, and then we'll just kind of have each one kind of labeled out and actually go and actually just do our due diligence and take care of it. Because I feel like it is our responsibility as junk removal like company owners. Like, we are the last step, you know. And
we're the last
if we don't do it, then nobody will, and it will end up in the landfill, and the landfill doesn't even care. You know, so I feel like we're kind of we are a big part of that, and you kind of have like, I wouldn't mind calling it QHAUL, responsible junk removal, once we get there, you know.
Do it. I dropped that shit in October 1st. We changed our name. We changed our name and our logo because I want to talk about what that means, because other people, I want them to spark a conversation, you know. Other people want to have that conversation.
And it's cool that you got your business to that point to where you can actually market it and be honest, and you know what I'm saying? Like, it's really cool, I think. And I'm gonna push. I don't know. Talk to me in a couple of years, or talk to me in a year and a half or so.
Well, we're getting fucking dinner in January. You got fucking 2 months.
Let's do it.
You got 2 months to figure your shit out. I'm gonna be in Denver in late January. We're gonna get fucking dinner, and you're gonna tell me all the things that you've done. So we got about 10 minutes before we get to the big finish. Let's jam. What do you want to know from me? What questions you got? Burning questions. Where are you at?
So right now, my first year I did 7,000. We started in June of 2022.
Okay.
The next year I did 70,000. I quit my job in March, so it was only like 9 months of real time work. Yep. And then this year we're at 120 right now.
Okay, you're gonna double. You're gonna double year over year.
Not double, but I'm almost double. That was my goal, though, was 120.
Well,
I was at 70. It was like 60. It was like 69,000.
But maybe you got 6 weeks to do 20 grand. Let's fucking do it. Let's double it. Fuck it.
Yeah, it could happen. I hear it happens, but it hasn't happened for me yet. I haven't hit 20,000 in a month yet.
You got 6 weeks. That means you ain't got you got 6 weeks. I mean, it's a short 6 weeks because, you know,
and it's ugly. Christmas. But last December we got 30 reviews. So I think, you know what I'm saying, something was, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, quality. All right. So and that's, you know what I love about what you just said though is true, because that's what performers are all about. A lot, if you look at the stock exchange, and you look at big businesses, right? And people that don't know what the fuck they're talking about, they'll be talking about year over year. Well, we're up 2% year over year. It's like, well, where are you compared to projection, right? That's what matters, right? Because look, when companies, right, quarterly, when they hit their goals or they miss their goals, that stock moves big time. It had nothing about year over year. So with this year, if your goal was to grow from 70 to 120, right? So 80% growth year over year, roughly, right? 50% on the 70, and you hit that number.
Yeah,
That's
shit.
a fucking celebrate, right? Because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, you as the entrepreneur, you get to decide what your growth looks like. So I commend you for that. Now I'm giving you shit to fucking push hard to double because fuck it, because right,
No,
like
no,
let's go
no, and
hard in
it's
the
not
paint.
a, and it's not a,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's not unreasonable. I think I'm
No,
in the stage where like I'm on the cusp of figuring it out. I'm on the cusp of figuring out my systems. I'm on the
yeah,
cusp of figuring out how to put my numbers in the right places and how to use my numbers the right way and stuff. But that would be my question, kind of like, so when you were at that
yeah.
100, when you were at this kind of crossroads, I know it had to, you know what I'm saying? How did you kind of build your team? What did you look for? What was your kind of roadmap? That's really my
No, you're
biggest
not
question. I think.
number two. Who do you have working for you right now? Is it you or
Nobody,
okay?
nothing. I don't have
That's it.
nothing consistent because my marketing isn't to the point where it's like I
Mm,
can give somebody 8 hours, 6 hour days. I have tried it. I had two workers the whole year, and then like in a freak accident, one of them went to jail for some random stuff, and then one of them it was his drinking.
got
I can't have
that's fine.
drinkers on my yeah.
No. That's a good. No, what you need is a business partner. You need a true number two. One of the reasons why I was so successful in business, I started day one with my number two partner. We had our first employee before we had our first job, right? So those were the things that led us to be successful. I had a business partner, so we knew day one. I put my Andy hat back on from 9 years ago. We knew that we didn't know shit, right? So we knew there's gonna be 100 things that had to get done every day. As soon as I was able to say, okay, here are the 50 things that Isaac does, my brother. Here are the 50 things Andy does, and we
Yeah.
broke it down to in the business, on the business. We just took everything. Is this in the
And even
business or
if
on the
you see
business?
him doing his shit, it'll motivate you to do
And
your shit
we're not
more.
even
Yeah.
motivated. I just don't have to. I'm not thinking about it, right? If
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, I scheduled the job, and then I'm going to an estimate. I know he's doing the job because estimates are on the business, right? The jobs are in the business. That was our thinking back then. Now we've evolved over time. Also, we had an employee, right? And so we didn't guarantee him hours. It was a guy I deployed with. He didn't need the job. He didn't need the
Yeah.
money. So it's like that was a
But
good
that's what somebody needs in this
correct.
situation.
But your number two guy has to be day one. You got to make that a true business partner. Hell, you can even promise him a percentage of equity after like 5 years. Like, hey, you work for me for 5 years, I'll give you 10% of the company, right? So what worked for us was I got my number two, and then within that first year, I got my number three, and that was our operations guy. So now we had Andy. I was working on the business, going to networking events, doing estimates, all the kind of sales functions. My brother Isaac was working in the business. He led the teams. He banged the jobs. And then our number three, Zell, was the in-betweener guy. So he eventually, because I'd be answering the phones for the longest time, he, after about a year of me doing it, he picked up and started answering the phone. So we started in June, and by April of that first year, he was answering the phone. Now, I was not tied down the phone. There'd be times I'd be sitting there, I'd go to a networking event, phone ring, I step out, I take the call, I book the job, I go back to the networking event. I sit there for like 3 minutes, phone ring again. I go back out. By the third time I walked out, I just fucking walked to my Jeep. It's like, well, I just spent 25 hours to eat some bullshit breakfast and
Yeah.
disrespect
That's what
everybody in the
spoke
room.
on.
So, number one, find a true number two business partners. Be willing to give them equity and promise of equity, promise a profit share day one.
What
Because
is that position look like in that first couple days? Is he going out banging jobs with me, or is
the
he
first couple
more
that first couple months or maybe
months?
years you're
Yeah, that's
banging
what I'm
jobs.
saying.
Yeah, you're banging jobs together.
So
You're
it's just
banging jobs
who
together.
that's my
That's it.
number two.
And what
That guy who
happens
can
is, so this is the
handle
other
that.
thing. We use PI. It's called predictive index. I look at what my strengths are. I look to complement someone that has strengths that are different than mine. You can do this real simple with 6 buckets of business. So you can do this. Everybody can do this. 6 buckets: marketing, sales, operations, the thing you do, resources that are human, the numbers. All right. Marketing is all the things you do, your brand, the voice, the Facebook posts, right? That's marketing. As
And
soon as
just
you
get in with the marketing. What's your number one, by far the best? What is the number one thing you should be doing with marketing? Is it shaking
uh
hands,
no,
or
that's
is it
networking. Now that turns into sales. As soon as I
networking?
show up, as soon as we go, that's sales. Sales function is from I go to networking events. I'm meeting with potential clients, potential people in the community. I'm picking the phone up. Right. This is something I learned from Mr. Barry Hartman, he was listening live. He might still be here. Mr. Barry Hartman, Bolt Accelerator, shout out. After 8 years of running junk removal a certain way, I heard one thing that changed my entire perspective on junk removal and my org chart. So the Bolt Accelerator, fucking love those guys. 505 Junk Removal. They're a $5 million industry up there in Canada. My guy Barry, this is what he said. This was the difference, right? This was a shift in mindset. Even after 8 years, I realized I was wrong. Right? My goal in life is not to be right. My goal in life is to not be wrong. And as soon as I pick up something along the way, I'm no longer wrong. I was right at the time, and then I got new information, and now I'm no longer wrong. This was it.
Yeah.
I looked at it. The magical time when the phone rings, right? I'm old school, right? Look, here's the deal. I'm over 40, so the phone to me is like this. Well, if you're a kid, the phone is like this, right?
Something like that.
Anyhow, all right. When the phone rings, I always looked at it. That was the magical time where we went from sales to operations. And Barry said no. When the job is on the board, we use Jobber, right? Whether you're using Jedi junk removal stuff, Jobber, or whatever you use, when the job gets on the board, then it's operations. That shift in mindset changed my entire perspective on our organization chart. And because of that, we actually added a position and moved our operations guy into sales because he's a sales guy at the heart who can do operations. So let's go back to those 6 buckets of business. Marketing, all the things that you're doing to get the phone to ring. Sales, the things you're doing you're picking up the phone, you're going to networking events, you're interacting with customers, and you're not even calling out to your prospective clients, right? All the actual interactions with your customers. Operations, the job is on the board. From the time the job is on the board till the time that your crew arrives, what do you got to do? You got to maintain your trucks. You got to have insurance. You got to have an operation software. These are all the things that have to, or right, so that when you show up to the job, you need the right tools, right? People are like, well, what's operations?
Loaded.
All the things. Sales makes the promise. The fleet delivers. The field, the fleet, whatever you call the guys, right? We call it our service team. So sales sells it. The service team delivers. Someone in between has to adhere to those promises. Then you have the field. In our case, right, the thing you do. This applies in all industry. What we do, we service customers. We service our fans out in the field. That's what we do. So service, that's the thing we do. Resources that are human. Who maintains the relationships? The relationships with our vendors, our partners, our employees, right? And then finally, the numbers. Who can look at the numbers, break them down, understand them, and affect change, communicate the numbers effectively to marketing, to sales, to operations, all along the line. This is what you need to do. This is what you want to do. Fuck the need. This is what you want to do. Figure out which of those 6 buckets is your high 3. Which are your low 3. It doesn't matter if it's 4, 5, or 6. It's a low 3, right? Find somebody whose high 3 complements your low 3. So, for example, I'll break it down Barney style. This is where I'm at. My high 3, sales, operations, numbers. My business partners, high 3, Andrew Crum. Sales, the thing we do, service, banging junk removal jobs, and resources that are human. He likes people. He gets along with people. He communicates effectively with people. Awesome, right? So now we got 5 of the 6 buckets covered. So you know what we do? Marketing.
Go hire another guy.
We got a third-party company for marketing. Now my 6 buckets are covered. The challenge is, if he was the same thing as I was and we got the same high 3, guess what? We got blind spots. So, like, for example, when there's challenges with employees or opportunities with employees, he's the one to bring it. Actually, I'll tell a story about Regis. My guy Regis. Regis spent 7 years in jail. So I fuck with people like you, right? I don't give a shit about where you've been.
Hey, man.
You know what I'm saying? I give a shit where you're at today. You know what? Wrong people, drug deal, lied about what happened, spent 7 years in jail for something he didn't do. Got it. Fine. Regis is my guy. Regis, like 3 weeks ago, every Tuesday morning we do a Tuesday morning meeting, Tuesday morning training, rather. And every morning it's like donuts, cookies. Regis, he don't fucking play. He's honest. He's like, man, can we get some real breakfast? Like, I want some bacon. I want some eggs. Give me something. Give me something that's gonna fill me up. And Regis is a big dude. Regis is 6'3", 250 maybe. Like I'm 6'4", 220. Like I got no problem going toe to toe with folks. I ain't fucking with Regis anyhow.
Yeah.
And nice this fucking dude, right? He's that guy that's like a teddy bear, but also spent 7 years in jail. So there's a switch in there somewhere that we ain't trying to turn. Anyhow, this is what Regis said. Regis like, can we get some real breakfast? My heat in the moment thought is like, fuck that guy. Y'all get donuts. How about no breakfast, right? And this is Andrew telling me, right? And then I was like, hold on. All right, y'all want free breakfast? Y'all want real breakfast? Cool. Here's the KPIs. Tell you what, dollars per hour, on time rate, because our guys have a history of not showing up to work on time.
That's my pet peeve.
Right, and then reviews. So this is their numbers. I'll tell you the fucking numbers. On time, dollars per hour, north of $90 per hour per guy. Reviews, north of 25% reviews for all jobs. So at least 25% of our jobs get a 5-star review. Only 5-star reviews on Google count. And then on time rate. 90% of the guys are on time. They hadn't been on time all fucking year. We never hit 90% for like 6 months, right?
Yeah.
The last 2 weeks we got close. Last week, and then the 1 week we got on time rate figured out, but our reviews were down.
Well, for some
last week they hit all 3 numbers. So now this morning they got some Chick-fil-A up in here.
Here's why. That's cheap Chick-fil-A then, you know?
Here's why. Exactly. Here's why. Because I don't go out of my way to go to the training. I don't go out of my way to go to talk to the guys. I'll chat with guys when they're here, but I ain't going on my way. Andrew, he's a people person. He goes talk to Regis. Regis knows they got a report. Regis has no problem going to the boss, be like, hey, man, I want some good breakfast, right? Yeah. And so because he's strong with people, he came to me, the finance guy, and said, hey, man, the guys want breakfast. Cool. My head is like, all right, what's my budget? We got about 15 guys, right? $5 a guy, $75, $100 by the time it's all said and done. Cool. You got $100. And in order for me to do that, this is what I need from you. So now, if you tell me, hey, Andy, it's going to cost you $5,000 a year, $100 a week, plus more because we're going to hire on more employees, right? Let's say $7,500 a week for breakfast, and the guys hit their numbers every week. Shit, where's my checkbook? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, easy, happily.
Why? Because Andrew's out in the field with the guys because he's got the complement of the field. Andrew's out there can talk to the guys. He's got rapport. I got the numbers covered, right? He ain't a numbers guy. I'm a numbers guy. I'm an operations guy. How do we make this happen? And we complement each other. So that's a prime example of when you get the right business partner, they see your blind spots, you see their blind spots. Like in talking to you, operations is not when you're high 3. Finance is not when you're high 3. I can just tell you that talking to you, right? Your marketing seems to be on point, sales are on point, and you're probably good at banging out jobs, right? So you got to find someone. You got to find someone that's operationally strong and probably good with relationships and ideally good with numbers.
Yeah.
Like your brand is on point. I like your branding.
Thank you.
You had no problem. You had no problem almost doubling your revenue, which means you know how to go out there and book jobs and bang jobs. Cool.
Yeah.
You admitted you didn't write down shit, so you ain't got nothing. You ain't got operations. So for you got to find someone who's someone that's strong in operations and relationships, or strong in operations and numbers. Right?
Yeah,
because between 2 people, you got to have 4 or 5 of the buckets covered. 6 would be ideal. 6 is almost not going to happen because then there's not like you almost be speaking 2 different languages. So like Andrew and I, we're both strong in sales. We can both talk sales all day, and we're like, all right, you got it, I got it. So if like it's 3, if you don't got the same 3, it's a fucking no go. I'd say the key is to have 4 or 5 of the buckets covered. 6 is ideal. Probably not going to happen.
Like, how much is that guy worth at first? Like, what's
more than you have to spend?
Yeah, what's the going rate to get a guy like that? You know what I'm saying? To get a guy on your team.
Here's the deal:
the promise of the equity. You know,
by giving him equity, it's called deferred comp, deferred compensation. It's like, hey man, you're worth $50,000 today. I can't pay you $50,000 today. I can pay you $20 an hour, which comes out to about $40,000, right? And instead of paying you that $10,000 a year, let me give you a percentage of equity that's really $20,000 to $30,000 a year 5 years from now when I have the money to pay you. Or you say, hey man, you're worth 50. I can pay you 40. I can pay you the other $10,000 in bonuses. And this bonus looks like this, this, and this. If you say, hey, you might just tell them, hey man, I'll give you 10% of all business you bring in. 10%. Right? So you want another $10,000, bring in $100,000 in work, and I'll give you 10%. Now you go from that $120,000 company to $150 by your own work and another $100,000 by his work. Now you're at $250. He gets his $50. You good to hook, baby. Right? There are vehicles to get there, and the whole goal is you have that ownership. They have ownership. One of my guys, my guy that does sales, and we're about to wrap up here because I had to get lunch.
Yeah, sorry, man. We couldn't talk.
No, we
I
good.
appreciate
But
everything.
my guy that does sales, he wanted more money, right? This is when we transitioned from operations to sales. So he wanted a raise, and I'm like, I already gave him 2 raises this year, right? And he earned both of them. By like he's top notch guy. This guy Mike, and I was like, okay, let me look at this. I knew what his raise he wanted, right? It was about $10,000 a year. I'm like, cool. I will give you a percentage of the commercial revenue, right? He's going to probably exceed that $10,000 a year he wanted in a raise in commissions. I'm happy as shit.
Because it's a percentage. Yeah, so
it's
you
a
get
percentage. Hey, baby, you work harder, we get more. Tell you what, he is incentivized like a mofo to pick up that phone, to close that job, because he's getting a piece of that action, right? So he's not worth it today. 6 months from now, he's absolutely worth it. So have him earn it, right?
Gotcha.
This is, again, I'll leave you with this. This will be my big takeaway from today, and then we'll go to you. This is my takeaway from today. I said this earlier on my podcast. Reward comes before work, only in the dictionary. You got to put the fucking work in. So find someone right now that's willing to make $20 an hour plus bonus, plus profit share, plus commissions. Figure out what triggers them, right? If they're a sales guy like you, give them that commission. If they're an operations guy, give them profit share. If they want to be long-term business partner because they're high in their resources, they're human, give them equity. Find someone that complements you and blow that motherfucker up. You got a good brand. You got a great story. Marketing-wise, you are one of one. Lean into that story. Hey, fucking straight-A student, valedictorian, went to fucking Howard. Isn't Howard Ivy League? Isn't Howard Ivy League?
It's not Ivy League, but it's
I know Brown is.
Yeah. No, it's a good school, though.
Howard's a historically black college, right? Or is it all black?
It's cool. Like, I don't know. It's like a high-rated black college.
That's fine. Yeah. Historically black. Yeah. Anyhow, fine. Here's the deal, baby. I was straight A student, went to Howard, done fucked up, got my journeyman, got a little fucking trailer, and I turned down the golden handcuffs. I turned down years of working union benefits taken care of because I bet on myself. I bet on myself in the past.
And it's really changing my life.
There's your fucking story. Write that fucking story and wait for the phone to ring. Lean in heavy on that, right? And then you throw in the fucking, don't call U-Haul, call QHAUL. What's up, Hey. Lean in on that. Go hard on that marketing. Find someone that's strong in operations so you can get out there and preach the good word of junk removal while they pick up the phone and make shit happen.
Gotcha.
There you go. That's your next step. So there you go. My top takeaway: reward only comes before work in the dictionary. What you got for me? What's your top takeaway from today?
Well, you're gonna catch me on guard. I would just say opening my eyes to partners, and that you can't do this alone, and you shouldn't do this alone. Just opening my eyes to it and putting that in the budget, putting that in the pro forma. I learned that word today too. I didn't know that word at first.
I love it. I love your vulnerability and transparency, because we all start somewhere. I was talking to this woman yesterday, and she's like, "Oh, I didn't know that about you," and I was like, "We don't know what we know until we know it."
Yeah.
Right? Like, we can sit here and talk about what we don't know, or we can vote, hey, shit, I know it now. We could have hooked, right? There's plenty of things. I learned along the way, babe. I'm a 4th generation entrepreneur. I got a bachelor's degree in business management. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't learn something new. I talked about Barry. I'll shout out Barry one more time. Bolt Accelerator. He don't pay me to say it. I say it because I like it. Bolt Accelerator. It's a group of junk removal business owners, presidents, CEOs, whatever. We get together every single week on Wednesday for an hour to 90 minutes to talk about best practices. It is a true monthly mastermind group, or weekly, but mastermind group. I heard something from Barry that changed the entire way I looked at my org chart because I was willing to listen. I wasn't like you called me a pioneer earlier. I appreciate that. I'm not so proud. I ain't got, pride is one of the 7 deadly sins. I'm not like, well, let me tell you, Barry, what I fucking know, because I've been doing this for 8 years. No, I was like, shit. All right, Barry, that actually makes a lot of sense. And up until that point, I'd have died on that hill. And as soon as Barry said that, I'm like, cool. I'm taking my flag. I'm going to go die on a different hill because what you're saying makes sense. So whatever you're doing in life or this industry, lean into what you don't know. And once you know it, be willing to be wrong. Yeah, you know what? Yesterday I was wrong and I'm right today. So today I ain't wrong. Today the whole goal is to not be wrong. So there you go. That's
and
my last
investing in
word.
information too. I want to say that too.
Invest.
Information is wealth. So it's like when you bump your head, it's very expensive. You know what I've been learning. So just fucking, it pays to get that information and talk to.
You know what? Make here's what it is. Make 1,000 $10 choices, because eventually you're gonna make one $10,000 choice that don't work out, right? And even better off, make $1,000 choice. Get yourself a consultant or a coach or someone smarter than you to avoid that $10,000 choice. All right, we're way over time. I'm gonna get lunch. I'm actually getting a tattoo this afternoon. Tattoo and then Ted in Chicago. So I'm already way behind on time. I really like doing this in the morning. I might talk to Taylor. We might move this show to the morning. I'm more stimulated here. Also, I'm drinking regular coffee in the morning. I switched to decaf after this. I'll fuck with that. All right, here we go. Big finish.
I'm gonna need my royalties for that if you change the time around. That's because of Eriq.
I appreciate your flexibility, baby. I tell you what, you know what? I'm coming out January. I'll send you the date. I'm gonna be in December. We'll get dinner. I'm flying in at 7 p.m.
Please, man. Please.
We'll get a late dinner because I got an early morning the next day. So all right, we'll go get a late dinner when I come into Denver in January. All right, here we go. Big finish. On behalf of Taylor, our producer, Eriq with a Q, from QHAUL out there in Denver, Colorado. I'm Eddie Weins. This has been another amazing episode of the Trash Talk Business Podcast, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Thanks for listening. Tap subscribe or follow to get the latest episode. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to leave us a review and tell a friend to listen. To learn more, visit trashtalkbusinesspodcast.com. Bye now.